Hello. All right, let's get to it. So thank you so much for your patience. All right, start this up. Let's hide this. And I need to check this too. Hold on. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, I just was reading the DMs. Just make sure that I knew what we're dealing with. Gotcha. Okay, I'm just gonna screenshot that even though I'll still remember it. Uh-huh. All right. Very good, very good, very good. So let's do I want to go off camera present for a little bit? Yeah. Let's reset the time. Okay. So stop video, share screen, and then it shows the chart, and then we need the aspect grid. Okay. All right. So you got a Virgo rising, Mercury ruled chart with what I love to see. North node with Pluto in Scorpio. Damn. And Jupiter's around there too. Sag moon, we have like the same moon, like 1 degree away, because I'm 21 years is like 19.57, so just about 20. So like we are literally like super similar in that way. Um, right on your IC. And okay, Cancer Sun conjunct the retrograde Mercury. And you spoke about being a writer, and I see it all over your chart, like literally just right away. I mean, the third house, already having Mercury retrograde, like can create great writers, right? Because that mercurial process, right? The process of kind of going within, or the cognitive process is more internal, right? So it just creates lots of thoughtfulness. And then North Node and Pluto in the third house. The third house is related to writing and communicating, and Jupiter, which will give you like a gift of gift of gab. Even if you didn't tell me about that, I would have said something for sure. And then on top of that, the Virgo risings, there's that whole precision. Of course, there's the perfectionism thing where with the very, very common for me to see some with natal Mercury retrograde, um, to have Chiron in Mercury ruled sign, Gemini or Virgo. And that really usually refers to just because, in all likelihood, your way of learning or your way of kind of, yeah, learning the cognition, just, yeah, how you learn, how you think, all that, how you speak, all that stuff with Mercury retrograde it's not usually like the way that schools are is made for a very distinct type, and it's not made for the Mercury retrograde type. It doesn't mean that they can't do good at school. But early on they can have some difficulties and they have to make adjustments. But yeah, over time, and wow, okay, so you're 94. And I just want to look at I do this. Yeah, so you told me. I just want to triple check. Okay, cool. All right. Well, so yeah, it's common for sure when you have a natal Mercury retrograde to be more more introverted, especially when you're growing up, and for there to be some pain a lot of times around some how like you finding your voice, and um people can with Mercury retrograde can be super talented, but they can get like the wrong message in their head that there's something wrong with their thinking. So we'll get more into the card a little later. But just basic, I mean, being very similar. Wow. So you're a Cancer and a Sag. So I'm a Pisces and a Sag. So, and then, yeah, Virgo rising. So you've got three elements. You have all the elements. Very good. You have the Venus and Leo. Um, and then of course, yeah. Wait, where's the air? Where's the air? Where's the air? Mars and Taurus. Yeah, so air is the one that you don't have, but so I would definitely suggest breath work. It's really, really good for people who lack air in their chart. It's interesting though, because air is about communication, about seeing, the other person's side, um, perspective. So yeah, to be a writer, kind of in that career path, quite interesting, right? But I think that so here's the thing, being a Cancer and then with a Sag moon, you are in you have the same thing I have, right? Where it's like there's that part of you that wants to just be a homebody and kind of just be way more, introverted and stick to yourself. But then that Sag moon is very, very different, right? Um, they're 5 signs away. So plants that are signs 5 signs away means that the two planets or the two energies like know nothing about each other. They're very just like foreign. Um, Now it's not creating a quincunx by degree, but by element, right? For the sun and moon. So yeah, I think Cancer, yeah, Cancer is interesting. It The way it would work with Sag is that, yeah, it's that push and pull between the Sag moon wanting to expand, always needing to learn new things, being an internal optimist, especially on the IC, but also having this real need for change in your life and for growth, right? It gives you the ability to see things from a higher perspective, right, in your whole life. And then you have this Scorpio, North Node, Pluto, Jupiter, third house, that's like really good at catching on to the details, and you add your Virgo rising to that, and that really wants to go deep into things, right? So that would be excellent for for that type of career. The one thing, and even like the Venus in the 12th can create, behind artists that are like behind the scene artists, But I think that the one thing would be just perfectionism, right? That would be the thing to look out for. And in terms of aspects, the one really difficult one that I see in the grid is Mars opposite Pluto, because Mars is in Taurus conjunct the South Node, and yes, North Node conjunct Pluto. That's really interesting to have two of those malefics on your nodes. So karmically, you to have like your North Node on Pluto, it's very rare, but or it's not rare for me in the clients I get, and there's a reason for that. But with the whole population, it's not that common. So why would that be the case? Well, because people who come to me, they want to go deeper, and when you have Pluto and the North Node in the same house, especially in Scorpio, right? Because um, your North Node is ruled by Pluto. So it makes that Plutonian kind of, and the whole idea of Pluto even a bigger deal for you. Now, what is that idea? Well, Pluto is the underworld, right? Pluto is the darker sides of the self. And North Node is the metaphoric mountain that you are trying to climb in this lifetime that you struggled to climb in past lifetimes, right? So this is like the ultimate placement for someone who's trying to work on their shadow self, and make the unconscious conscious. It's very, very spiritual. And in the third house, you're also really trying to work on communication, and that's also with having the Mercury retrograde. There's, either in having the South Node in Taurus, there's either, and then the nodes are no squares, but there's South Nodes in Taurus conjunct Mars, and North Nodes conjunct Pluto, so South Nodes opposite Pluto. So, in that case, you are really, really moving towards, it's almost like many lifetimes or several lifetimes that you've been kind of on this really massive karmic trajectory of this shadow work that you're doing, and you're continuing it into this lifetime. At the same time, though, there's been a tendency to get pulled into the material, and also to get pulled into the dogmatic way of, kind of conditioned way of seeing reality. So in this lifetime, you're really trying to move past that. You're trying to really see things from a different perspective. And, even with Black Moon Lilith in the ninth house in Taurus, to me, that, the lower potential of that, remember, it's only potential of Black Moon, especially with Black Moon Lilith on planet, would be around, yeah, just in the ninth house, yeah, being too, like, this is what I believe in, and not willing to kind of switch things up. So that's like a big reason why, and with the Pluto in the third, there can be past life memories of having believed something, right? Like you see all these people in today's world who have these completely brainwashed ideas of what reality is, and then that leads them in their reality. So, and then, you know, what they decide is right, you know, for them, like what you know, what trajectory they think is correct for their lives, right? So it's just important to when you have that in your chart to really look at your beliefs and to just be very, very flexible with them. And Scorpio is really about going deeper, right? So in the third house and with the Mercury retrograde, I think that there is a lot of meaning when it comes to time self-reflection and confronting whatever demons show up deep within your psyche. And because of how your chart is, there will be situations, right, that you'll have that choice between the Taurus, which is kind of staying like low Taurus, which is kind of staying the same, um, not accepting change and not accepting transformation, right? So there would be different circumstances in this lifetime for you that would push you into your shadow and push you to look at things that you might not otherwise have looked at, right? Um, so I tell people because you know perspective can change everything, right? Um, and you don't have any really like you have zero bad aspects with your sun, your moon. I mean, let me just like look, see if there's not none there. So yeah, there'd be none here. Yeah, so your sun is chilling. Your moon, well, your moon is square Saturn. It doesn't show that here, but that should. I don't know how to change the orbs on that, but yeah, the moon is squaring Saturn, and the descendant, and the ascendant, of course. So there's actually a T-square between. I mean, some people would say you know you can't cannot use the ascendant in an aspect pattern, but for you know for me, I definitely think the ascendant, even though it's not a planet, you can look at it. And if we don't want to use that, I mean, yeah, the Chiron wouldn't really make sense, but it would shoot out in Gemini, right? Right where your midheaven is. So it would sort of speak to, you know, and then I'd have to define like kind of what that would look like. Well, you know, the moon square Saturn can be about emotional issues, a lot, you know, shyness. It could be issues with the mother, um, feeling emotionally restricted. So now you know you're moving into your Saturn return, which um, what degree of Pisces? So it's very soon. What degree is it though? Let's see. Yeah, it's at 6 right now. So it's very, very soon. So I'd highly recommend that. Well, if you like this reading, the next step is, well, I know you said you have a certain situation, but yeah, just saying it that at some point, well, most people do is they get this reading, then they get, but I think yeah, you got just the reading. So yeah, if things are meant to be, what most people do is they get the follow up slash, and then also the current astrology, and I would add like the Saturn return, which isn't like it's just like it's something I would charge like $20 more. It would just be part of the current astrology, but yeah, that whole, I know you said you were in a situation, but yeah, if that changes, just know that I'll just, yeah, that it would be a big discount for all those if you wanted to, yeah, you follow up current astrology / spiritual alignment, and then add the Saturn return. So yeah. That with Saturn the seventh, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not gonna have relationships until like your Saturn return. And I know that it'd be in the sixth house in class this, but I use whole sign. But often it oftentimes does push that process back and cause some frustrations. And the fact that it squares the moon could speak to some potential for projecting onto romantic partners, issues that you might have with the mother, whoever the moon parent is. But it could also speak to, moon being on the IC. There's moon on the IC. There's a big attachment to the childhood, to the family, to the kind of to the roots. And the square with Saturn, and the fact that it's on the IC, so it's the moon's opposite the midheaven, it would speak to the fact that the need for this like the need for resolving this square is so massive, and it has implications on your career. The moon also rules the public, so yeah. So moon in Saturn square, the moon, it's emotions, right? It likes to be fluid, likes to flow, and especially in Sagittarius, it needs freedom. It doesn't want to it wants to just fly. It's all about expansion, and Saturn is restriction, right? Water break. So that can create a level of frustration where you feel, especially and it's gonna get a lot better now, but yeah, you feel like moving forward, and then some karmic force feels like it's pulling you back. And moon Saturn also can create depression, like melancholic tendencies. And often, there's just a need to, just do a lot of inner work around abandonment or perceived abandonment. So, definitely, 1 second. Hold on. One second. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, I think that just with that aspect, um, yeah, it can just make one feel very like internally restricted, right? And you lots of and often like kind of second guessing oneself, and shyness is big. But loneliness is another thing that can come up from that too. But it is, it's not, it's 7 degrees. Some people I don't know. I definitely would count that one. But it really speaks to like the importance of how you felt as a child, and having the moon on the IC isn't a bad place for the moon. Um, so I think like one of the keys to your chart is like how, because some astrologers would only give a 5-degree orb to moon square Saturn, but to me, I would give more of an eight degree-ish one. But yeah, it can make someone feel like just very like very controlled, and maybe the mother was like very serious or strict. Um, so yeah, it's really like the more unhappy and restricted you felt as a child, the more that would show, rejection, guilt, depression, all those things would show up as an adult, right? And a lot of times it's like, with this, like, one or both the parents failed to make a healthy emotional connection with you. And there could be like, yeah, like I said, like a feeling of like being unlovable or abandoned, rejected. So yeah, it's a tough one, but it's not, yeah, it's not so like it could be the case that it's not even affecting you because it is 19 to 12, basically 20 to 12. So yeah. Um, but yeah, a lot of times, if there was like a feeling of isolation, then especially, as a Cancer, which can be, quite, Cancers, they can be quite introverted, the crab that crawls back in its shell when it gets hurt. Um, very, it's the sign of the home, and then your moon is in Sag, but it's right on the IC in the fourth house of Cancer. So yeah, I mean, there could be that tendency, right? And then with the South Node, um, in Mars conjunct South Node in Taurus, it's like definitely a tendency to, I would say, push towards stability, push towards maybe even like money, maybe just like very, very ambitious in that sense. Um, but not flexible when it comes to taking risks. So that's like a big thing for you in this lifetime. And yeah, with the whole Scorpio energy, to me that is really, and having Mercury retrograde, karmically, we think of someone who maybe didn't either spoke or thought too much or in a wrong type of way, detrimental to them, or either too much or too little, right? So it pushes that process inward, so the person thinks more of how do I want to think, how do I want to communicate, right? um and there can be some overthinking for sure, over analyzing situations. So like I said, the big thing is being able to, it's like with like it's like just not believing things, like really really needing to be the investigator in your life and to go out and find the answers. um So that's like very key, is to not just believe things. but more on the kind of the relationships stuff I was talking about is that um with Saturn in that position, it there's lots of karmic lessons around relationships, but then part of fortune's with Saturn there. So that's a really good thing. And the vertex is there too. So there's a lot of karma and a lot of fate when it comes to relationships. And that's where you learn a lot about yourself within those. For for the good or for the difficult. So um when I think about Pluto, right? An example would be, for example, is a Sag moon, love different cultures. You want to be traveling physically or metaphorically and consistently growing and learning more and more. Um, and just being, so a risk would be moving, like um, taking an opportunity that's not so, what you'd expect. That seems a little bit risky. But either way, I think that just the more, when it comes to like spirituality, for example, the more that you can deepen this spiritual relationship with yourself, right? That's North Node Pluto. It's asking you to go deep. It's asking you to go into that shadow. There could even be something with siblings potentially, right? Not necessarily bad, but I've seen third house Plutos where there's like you know, a karmic kind of power struggle or some darkness with with a sibling or multiple. But it's very interesting. So the Mercury gets it's a combust. Well, let's see, it's 1.0. Yeah, so it's combust Mercury. So that can make one. Um, it's not a bad thing. It just can make one a little bit dogmatic, right? Where it can be hard, like I said, hard. Like it can kind of perpetuate the difficulty with not having any air. Um, so really wanting to learn about other people's experiences and how they see things is really important. Because one second, grab something. Because yeah, like I'm telling you, there's like all these indications all around the chart of that potential to not have that flexibility, and to just kind of have that attitude of like, this is how I see it. That's it, right? Um, so yeah, that's one very key part is exploring alternatives. And as a Sag moon, you want to have friends from all over the world. If you can't, because I understand that your line of work is probably in America where it's going to be done, right? I mean, I imagine that the connections you made and whatnot. I mean, yeah, I'm sure maybe like the UK or something. I don't know, but like it just seems like that's where that kind of career but would work. But like Sag moons, they love being different. They love moving around. Um, it's really that, yeah, it's that experience of completely just engulfing yourself in a new culture. That's everything, right? having some kombucha. It's like from this like restaurant I order from, and it's like literally it's so good. I'm like, is this like? There's no way this is like, I don't know. Is this really kombucha? It's like probably the second best kombucha I ever had. I forget the name of this one brand in Colorado. It's pink. I don't know if it's nationwide. Anyways, so overall, look, this third house is massive and it's connected to, you finding your voice. In past lives, you've had been kind of led astray by conditioning, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And because of that, it's made it so it made it so you really pushed it would be like the equivalent of someone who's too, I'm not saying this how you were, but the Taurus South node would be someone who's not willing to take, for example, spiritual risks because they're too much in the material, right? Taurus rules the material world, and Mars and Taurus is very good for success in this lifetime. So, um, the South Node isn't a bad thing. It's about how you can use the South Node. How you can use this energy that you've mastered, and Taurus, it's that determination, and that ability to just never give up and to just keep going. So yeah, I think like with writing and with career and with all that stuff, anything that's investigative, would be great. Um, but having a third house Jupiter in Scorpio, it makes you just like a seeker of truth, someone who just wants to really go deep, 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 figure it out, you know? Not trust, not just trust someone, what like the general consensus is, or what society says, to truly just go and find it, like needing the proof, because like Pluto in the third house is like an energy where it's like in past lives you were told that this was the this all this was how you should live your life, and you have those memories. So now in this life you're going and you're just like, you're not believing something unless you have that direct proof. It's like me with a lot of stuff in astrology. This is an example that just comes to me, right? um like, it's not that I don't believe in degree theory, right? It's not that I don't believe in different asteroids and what house they land in mattering unless they're conjuncting a planet, right? It's just more so that it doesn't make logical sense to me, and I'm open to it. But that's kind of that. So that energy right there is like a perfect example of kind of what you're here to kind of be like, right? Being okay with being wrong, being okay with updating your. If this is something you're already doing, then you're onto something. But being willing, like I was watching some stuff on YouTube the other day, and this guy was completely like he's an idiot. He just like said some wild shit. He could have easily, and then he made like a tweet, um, and it was very clear. Then he went on a show to defend himself, I guess. But like, it was just like, dude, just say you like. It was. I don't know. I watched some weird, not weird stuff, but just like some random shit on YouTube. And there's this guy from like the red pill community or whatever. No judgment, but he was basically saying that the like he had like a list of things of like what you should like for men to be successful. And one of the things on his list was to get a vasectomy in your 20s. And he wasn't joking. And he was like one of the apparently one of the founders of like this whole like movement. And then he just gets completely owned. And he just does not give up. He just keeps digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper, Just looks like gets frustrated and just looks like the biggest idiot right now. If he would have just, and it's so interesting how few humans are able to do this. Um, just being able to admit, like, I'll just go turn my camera back. I need to go back and forth. I like to stare my rings from because I'll be like closing my eyes, like blah blah blah. But yeah, just like I just lost. Okay, now is it back? Okay, well, I just lost my Wi-Fi for a second. Yeah, so like yes, like it's very rare that humans in today's world are willing to just like update. Like it's like we don't know like especially people who are just really really like super like science everything. It's uh, like the whole point is that like if science knew everything, then people like scientists wouldn't still be trying to discover things, right? Trying to prove, right? They're like there's so much that we don't know, but we can still intuit that things are correct based on our experience, right? Just because I can't, just because there isn't like a flawless, measurable way when it comes, to I guess prove astrology through the scientific method does not mean it does not exist. So just examples, right? Now with the sun in the 11th, that's interesting. Oh my God. It just looks good. Well, now there's that, whatever it's called. The mushroom, the yeast, not the yeast. Watch out for that thing. But yeah. So also I do see the Grand Trine, Earth Grand Trine, ascendant once again. Mars and Neptune / Uranus. But before that, I just want to say that um, with the T square, right? With like if it's ascendant or like yeah, the ascendant descendant axis and Saturn on one side scoring the moon, it shoots up. It's like an arrow. That's where the resolution point is, and it's right on the midheaven, right on the career. So in Gemini, so it literally is all about just being very mutable in your life, being very, very open-minded, willing to kind of do that exact thing, being very curious. Um very, very curious. And people who have midheavens where you have yours, it's not uncommon for them to change careers, right? I'm trying to finish this without drinking the whatever it's called. Oh, so close. Whatever. Um, yeah. So it just goes perfectly like with that Pluto in the third, where you're, yeah, like I said, and I repeat things that are very important. Um, you're meant to be the journalist in your life. You know, you're meant to be the metaphoric journalist that goes out and finds that info. Because in the past, it's burnt you to believe what you were taught and what you were supposed, the consensus reality has burnt you. Okay, what is this? So there's two grand trines. One in earth, one in water. So, that really gives one it gives one like a real ability like with when it comes to compassion, right? Um and also when it comes to the ability to follow through and to have groundedness, to be a grounded person. And I think that's one of the great things about your South Node, right? In Taurus, is that there's this peace within you, even though it's conjunct Mars, there still is this peace within you. There's this peace within you that you've developed. And sometimes when I think of South Node in Taurus, I just think of Costa Rica. I don't know. I said this before. Like it's so beautiful, so perfect. And I just think of like someone who didn't have to take risks. Um, but now it's time, you know. And also you have what's called a kite pattern. So this is very interesting. And what's happening here, and I'll show you so you can see, where is it? My eyes look good. Better. I've been like adjusting my sleep habits. They're getting less red. Pretty soon they will be white as my kind of white teeth. Pretty white. Kind of not though. I don't know. I think it's just the lights messing it up. My teeth usually are quite white. Um. Anyways, whatevs. They're good enough. They're good enough. Okay. And they're clean, brush daily, flossed or tooth, whatever it's called, the thing that pushes that toothpick, tooth something, whatever. It just shoots water. It's better than flossing. But yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. You have this grand trine, Mars, the closest one would be Neptune, ascendant. I'll use ascendant for aspect patterns. Midheaven, descendant I see I won't use. That's just a personal thing. Just because the ascendant is literally, it's not a planet, but it still is, it's a very prominent energy in your being. So, and yeah, the midheaven is too, but different. Um, so the Grand Trine speaks to your ability to have amazing creativity and organization towards your creativity, right? Um, but it's in fire houses. Neptune's involved. So when Neptune trines Mars, that's a really great combination for artists of any kind, right? And Neptune and Uranus in the fifth, you're able to create through via your intuition, right? It's a really nice placement. So, um, and then even like Mars, trying the ascendant, that just makes you able to complete your goals, be very well aligned and well organized. Now, this Grand Trines alone are very good. They're talents, but they can be taken for granted. That's why the kite creates an opposition because, we have these down here, right? We have Pluto. So in the North Node, but yeah, I'm using Pluto here, which forms a sextile, right, with the ascendant and with these two. So, and then of course, it becomes the apex of the kite as it opposes Mars. So that is the part of you, and it relates completely to your evolutionary astrology, right? Where it's literally saying what I was saying before. It's like there's this very kind of determined, hardworking, organized part of you, right? Action oriented too, because they're in firehouses. But then Mars opposite Pluto is giving you the firepower to make something of it. Make sense? Now, now, Mars opposite Pluto, though, that isn't necessarily easy. Definitely made my list for most volcanic placements. So, the square and Mars, Pluto in general. There's a huge need to learn to really be balanced because you have such an intense like um physical energy, right? Um, and it can be linked to violence, um, lashing out on or potentially being lashed out. Yeah, like either being the lasher outer or the person lashed out onto. Um, so yeah, like people who have Mars and Pluto in that kind of alignment, they just need to like work like they need to work out. And I've talked to so many people who have this and they all like laugh and they're like, yeah, like I know. Like if I don't work out, I go crazy. Um, which is interesting as a cancer, right? So but it's that same energy that makes you feel like it makes you a very great achiever and gives you this kind of chip on your shoulder, right? So there's this real intense inner energy. Um so like having like a physical or even creative outlets are very important, right? But often with this, like there's this like real battle where you feel like you have to prove yourself, right? Um, and because of where the planets are, you may have started feeling like victimized in life. It could have been that Mercury retrograde really coming into play, being very tough on yourself. That's a very like you know that's a very big potential for the Mercury retrograde, which can be so like ruminating, overanalyzing, and with that Saturn square moon, there can be, if there was a very strict mother or just parental figure, there can be like that this kind of this, and with that Chiron in Virgo, there can be this kind of perfectionist feeling and this voice in your head. So it's like about like getting to the bottom of that. There can be like this voice in the head, do better, do better. This isn't good enough. You're not good enough, right? So really getting down to like what are the self-limiting beliefs that you have? I'm like, got it. How can I do this? How can I do it? I lost my Wi-Fi again. If you didn't know that I have to use my hotspot, even though my Wi-Fi works, somehow my computer has a problem, and it sucks. I don't know. It's like my computer has a problem with receiving Wi-Fi signals now. But then with my phone's hotspot, it's perfect. So bizarre, bizarre, bizarre. Anyways, as I was saying, um, there could have been even like an abusive parent with this. Usually it's a man. It's because it's Mars. Um, and yeah, it can just make the person really tough on themselves. And very competitive though. Very high expectations. There's a lot of athletes have like these types of energies. Mars, Pluto, it's all about sports, all about competitiveness. Okay, I'm just done with this. But it can, you know, it can make one really, especially, with that energy, like wanna push themselves, right? And be like in a highly competitive industry with something that keeps them on their feet. Um, but it's an opposition, so it's like, there is often this very like, like kind of it can create conflicts with like superiors and you're growing up. Um, and the whole point of it, because it's Pluto, is the death, rebirth, transformation, right? So Scorpio Pluto in itself is about a lot. It's about surrender, right? It's about allowing yourself to kind of go through that death, and then rebirth, and then transformation at different points in your life. So yeah, very courageous energy. Also it's very lots of sexual magnetism with that one for sure. But yeah, there's so many like very successful and famous people that have this. They just have to learn how to like channel that energy into something positive, right? Into something that, yeah, where they can use that ball of energy of Pluto. So it's nice that it's part of the kite pattern. So the balance, for like in relationships, right? Let me pull all this back up. Yeah, so there's a certain balance that's needed, right? And what I mean by that is between the one, so there's one extreme, right? Um, of Aries where it's like, I will not, I won't do anything. Like I'm literally like completely independent, not willing to make any sacrifices, like in relationships. And then there's Libra on extreme codependent. I can't live without my partner, blah, blah, blah. So it's about finding the balance between those two, right? So yeah, with the Saturn there, Vertex, part of fortune, I just think that it would give one a more serious approach to relationships. But after the Saturn return, which is, like I said, like just about to happen, or during, you could meet someone, if you're not with someone already, very karmic, and things get a lot easier after the Saturn return in the love department. Mm. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of like just partnership in general, like, I think that, you need someone who just as a Sag moon, regardless of anything, there's a need for someone who is open, maybe from a different country, um, and who can really add to your philosophical outlook on life, right? That's really, really massive. Now, when it comes to just all the energy in that seventh house in Pisces, it's like that's relationships are just an area where you're just gonna have fate ruling so much, right? At the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. And Juno being in Libra in the second, that gives that's kind of like your ideal, you know, marriage partner. There needs to be a level of peace, balance, like harmony, um, just all of that. And then also second house is about security. So that's very important. Um, Financial security, but just really feeling like it's, a serious relationship. Like, but then like the Sag Moon part doesn't really necessarily want something like there. So there has to be that kind of interplay, and that goes back to your sun and your moon, right? The Cancer part wants that emotional connection. So that like you're very similar to me in this respect, right? It's like you can fall victim to seeing someone for their potential as opposed to the reality, right? But you have Earth, right? So that Mars and Taurus, that gives you the ability to be more realistic. Now, um, I think that whole energy, it's just like it's difficult because like I'll speak for my, and of course you have your Venus and fire, right? And Leo in the 12th, though, it's the water house. it speaks to like how, I mean, like in my past, I can just tell you from personal experience, I would date girls who would only like, I guess in astrological terms, the Leo and Sag part, but then when the Pisces part came out, it just didn't work, right? So that could be something for you where it's like you need a partner that understands that you're sensitive, that you're, you know, that you're someone who, but let me tell you, I say that about cancers, but cancers can be some of the biggest bosses ever, you know? I mean, it's the opposite sign of Capricorn, so it's like, you know, it means it's just the same energy but different. Um, so yeah. Um, but yeah, like that need for that balance is very important. And when you add all this other energy and like, okay, well, you need someone who doesn't keep you away from your North Node journey and your Pluto journey. So like if you were, for example, to be with someone who's very scorpionic, right? But also had a little bit of, you know, had some Scorpio, maybe it triggers your Pluto. Like my girlfriend, um, her sun is exactly on my Pluto, same degree. Which, you know, yeah, it was, yeah. Um, so that's something. I don't like to prescribe signs because that's not how astrology works, right? You could be with someone where it's like everything is different and then it just works. Sometimes that's what the twin, you know, people call the twin flame journey. Sometimes that's what it's all, you know, it looks like in some of those readings that I have, the compatibility ones. But definitely someone that doesn't keep you in that materialistic kind of like you need someone who sees outside of, I don't want to sound cheesy, like like I don't know how else to say it, like the consensus reality, the matrix, the, I don't know, outside of like how, you know, the world is painted, because it's all, you know, not all, but it's a lot of bullshit, you know, proven. Um, so harnessing the grand trines, right? Because I didn't even speak about the Jupiter, Saturn, Sun, or slash Mercury, or Mercury slash Sun one. Well, actually, it would just be Mercury. Mercury. So this is like really a big one, right? And I'll get back to love stuff in a sec, but I just want to say, um, wait, yeah, so to have um Jupiter trine Saturn, that's a nice balance of discipline and expansion. And then it channels into your Mercury, to your mind. So that's like really, really, really good to have your Mercury trining Saturn and um Jupiter, massive. Um, so I don't know why it's showing me here. Yeah. Because Mercury trine Sat Jupiter makes one very philosophical, and they can see the big picture really well, and really uplift people with with how they talk and how they communicate and whatnot. Um, and then Mercury trine Saturn, Saturn's memory. Mercury's the brain, so it creates a very intelligent individual where they can use like, um, you know, these different types of, like, you know, like memory and cognition together. It just retrogrades, so it's just going to be a little bit different and better to do things that are more artistic, more right brained, right? So that is the best thing, one of the best things possible for a writer. Jupiter and Saturn trining your Mercury, and the 11th house energy could be looked at. And also, I want to say that midheaven in Gemini, you could have two careers. You could have a career change, you're very mutable when it comes to that area of life. Um, so mm, yeah. Yeah. And you have Ceres right on the midheaven. So in Gemini, that's where I have mine too. Ceres like it's kind of like a mini moon. Um, wow, we have the exact same um moon and Ceres. So it's like, yeah, it's like information, you feel nurtured by maybe a little bit of gossiping, talking, communicating, you love to talk with friends, like 11th house sun and Mercury. You love to talk with friends, you love to talk with you love to be you like friends become like your family when it's Cancer ruling the 11th, right? Your friends that your close friends that you truly trust become like family. um so yeah, I just want to kind of add that in there because it's important to talk about, because like even like Jupiter in Scorpio on its own, it creates the inner psychologist, right, on this intense search for truth. um a very transformative learner and teacher, right? And then Jupiter in the third creates a great thinker and talker, um, and writer. You know, you're always looking for expanding yourself through communication and different insights, expanding your mind. So back to kind of more of the love energy, having a 12th house Venus can be interesting, but there's definitely a love for abandoning yourself into the unknown, you know? One thing with the 12th house Venus is that sometimes there's an obsession with the future and there's a need to just tune into the present, you know? Um, and a need to like learn to value, I guess, the beauty of existence of the world, um, as a reflection of you. Um, but there can also be some, it's also very good for the esoteric, for anything spiritual, all this. Um, but yeah, it can be it can be a little bit self-sabotaging at times. Now, Venus in Leo speaks to kind of, it doesn't trine your moon, but it's close. Just like enjoying lots of creativity and inner childness in relationships. You want to be proud of your partner. You want them to be, like you want them to take great pride in you. You want to take great pride in them. Also Venus and Leo, and I've said this to people and they sometimes don't resonate with it, so I'm kind of like, okay. But usually they value appearances. They like the finer things in life. Um, and they like to pamper themselves. um, Venus rules spending too, so it's not it's squaring Jupiter, so you have to watch out like for like overly splurging, but um, Venus square to Jupiter is not so bad. Just like, yeah, watching out for being like self-centered and but it makes one really enjoy the fun side of life. Um, but um, yeah, it's just like pushed away by that, like 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 the potential for like quitting when the going gets tough gets kind of pushed away by that grand trine in Earth. Um, but yeah, you don't have that many aspects. Let's see. yeah, you can really like inspire others, and like I think music could be something that could be very, very good for you, but definitely something creative. And you just have, yeah, like Mars, Uranus, like another thing is just like the energy level it gives someone, right? To succeed in it. Like you could literally have two careers, you know? But then it's like, it goes back to the idea of like, how much are you giving? Like the relationship between giving and taking being that needs to be even, right? And that's the thing is that if you're so preoccupied with career and just putting everything into that, that can potentially take away from, you know, the real karmic shadow work that needs to be done. So I think the throat chakra is really what's speaking to me here. Um, so I don't care about Eurovision, but I just wanted to see. I'm just like looking up at the scores. I mean, Romania's not in it, so I didn't watch it, but Romania was presenting who they thought should win. Let's see, Sweden is winning. Italy, Israel, Estonia, Finland. My friend's Finnish. Anyways, so yeah, the throat chakra, the need to kind of speak your truth in this lifetime, because with South Node opposite Pluto, that is past life trauma. And you might not feel trauma in this lifetime. I have South Node square Pluto. The opposition, yeah. Um, so what I'm seeing is that you're trying to potentially do what I'm doing, which is healing something that you don't know what you're healing, which is fucking confusing. I wrote about it in my book, which I conveniently have right here, Pisces Live Nine Lives, but about how it was astrology that taught me that I was always looking like, why do I experience so much trauma? Or why, like, I haven't had that bad of a life, you know? I mean, like a childhood, whatever. But then the fact that I had, you know, this Pluto square South Node, of course, that's different than the opposition, but still, it made everything make sense to me, right? So it could be something similar to you where, you know, you're trying to push past this fear that you might have. And like in Placidus, you would have Chiron the 12th, which, you know, could speak to like some interjects you have, you know, some self-limiting beliefs that are very unconscious that really need to be investigated. Um, and that investigation comes to that deep dive into the esoteric, and you have so many of these houses. I mean, the 12th house, you know, energy and whole signs of you know, this Leo Venus there, it really can be like a lantern in these areas of life. Mysticism, high spirituality, right? Where you're able, like anything related, like that, maybe some people are afraid of, like the gates to the unknown become wide open to you. But yeah, like the sun in the 11th, it's like a big part of the life purpose is, you know, meant to be with like friends and groups of people, causes that you believe in, humanitarian causes, whatever it is in that sense, right? Super important. Um, and once again, I'm gonna say it again. There's a need to truly do the groundwork to develop um a flowing worldview that's always, you're always willing, and that's the beauty of the Sag moon, is the Sag moon on the high side, the shadow side of Sag moon is like just kind of hold on. So the shadow side of Sag moon is like you know, pushing trauma aside, like if there's something traumatic that happens, it's such a great talent that us Sagittarians have, is to find that inner well of optimism and to create meaning, right? So if something bad happens, a Sag moon is far more likely than any other moon sign to be able to look at that and get past it. It's very future oriented, so it makes you, which is interesting because you have, it's on the IC, so it's this real push between the future and the past, right? And there might be that part of you that wants to look forward, but then there's a part of you maybe that needs to kind of look back also. So yeah. But with the throat chakra, it's just, yeah, speaking your truth is so important. And yeah, just deep dive, don't believe shit. um it's, you just have so many things I see where it's like just like this really great ability to see the big picture in life, you know, and just be very, very philosophical. And Pallas and Taurus would speak to having like lots of common sense and wisdom, seeing like the, you know, the beauty in nature and the world around you and the arts. So it could even make you like a gifted healer um with your hands, or just like using the earth, like herbs and stuff like that. Oh, that's cool. Um, but yeah, Mars in the ninth alone is just like, and also conjunct South Node. That's interesting. I didn't think about this. There's lots of places in the world that are going to be very, you're going to have a very karmic link to these places. So if there's a place that you, or places that you feel like, kind of how I have Romania, Turkey, it's like, you know, the Ukraine, even like those places always call to me. Um, I don't know why. Nigeria also. So, there's Moldova. Moldova's getting crushed. Yeah. So that, you know, and if you ever want to do an astrocartography reading at some point, you know, you can look at the hot spots, cold spots, where those lines fall. But yeah, I mean that would be like lots of karmic places in the world and a real drive to travel and explore, you know, the meaning of life, really. Um, but yeah, the Taurus, um, Mars can be very, very stubborn if opposed, so there's a need to kind of move away from that, um, and move towards Scorpio, which is high Scorpio's surrender and allowing parts of the self that are no longer serving to die off. Step forward. So fifth house Uranus people, they can have like very unusual hobbies. So it's important for them to just like learn to like kind of love, like you know, accept that their, you know, creative pursuits, hobbies, whatnot. Even children might be like, you know, very original, very unconventional. And it's really, really good. Like you can like, yeah, like just get downloads. Like when you're just like in your creative zone, you can just like get downloads. So that's amazing for writing. And so is the Neptune in the fifth, equally, right? So yeah, just like being able to create through your intuition and all that stuff. Having very like kind of Neptunian children also, who might be like very gifted in the arts and psychic and all that stuff. um yeah, I mean, like the North Node journey for you, it's like the voice, as I'll keep saying, your voice, your truth was taken away from you in a lifetime. and you're trying to reclaim that and refine what truth is for you. So then you can base that truth, base your dharma and what you're doing on that truth, not on a fake narrative, right? And that's the key. With love and relationship stuff, I'll continue on that because I know that's important. You know, the 12th house Venus, sometimes like, you know, and being like a Virgo rising, there can definitely be like a perfectionism there. I think that the moon square Saturn can speak to like just, you know, like the part of fortune conjunct Saturn is kind of saying that you will have very long lasting good relationships that are very karmic, but that there's karmic lessons that need to be learned before that, in order for those to like truly come to fruition. And yeah, like I said, your Saturn return is happening, and the vertex there, it's like, you know, lots of fate, you know, in that. And Pisces 7th house, Neptune ruling this, you know, the 7th, it can also create the potential for kind of being disillusioned in relationships. So, you know, that's important to know that there can be like the rose-colored glasses that can be very common. So let's see here. Definitely can be a potential, yeah, to like lose yourself in love also and kind of put it above everything else. But I think the Grand Trine might kind of push some of that away. But yeah, it's just that interplay between with romantic stuff. I'm always like, just make sure that that person is not, like I was saying before, keeping you in like that they're not like a program bot, you know, that they can think for themselves, which is literally so fucking rare these days. um, although there are some people um that they at least are interested in in growing on a philosophical level and traveling, you know, physically or metaphorically. But then also, you know, a Cancer, you know, will like to be, you know, family is important and all that. But then also like the need to like express your inner child. And also a 12th house Venus can create like secret lovers. It's very interesting. Or like forbidden love, that kind of thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, like Pluto third house, it can make one a very powerful communicator. Um, so that's cool. That's cool. All right. So your flow, yeah, part of fortune, like on Saturn, it's just like in Pisces, your flow state is like through having that spiritual relationship with yourself, through just, you know, giving, being of service, compassionate service to humanity, and just like having that, being on that spiritual journey is so important. Um, so yeah. Um, and in the 7th house, it's like, yeah, like you have like a very great joy flow state when you're in beautiful relationships that aren't codependent, but that there's a nice level of Aries Libra compromise. Um, and also just like being able to like give to others, you know, is very, very important. So yeah, Vesta in the 10th house, like just really dedicated to your career, very disciplined. It can be also very, very like perfectionist though too, and like hard on yourself. Um, and also yeah, like in Gemini, like it can be difficult like just selling into like just one career path, right? But like the need for perfection is really important. And also just like other random thing like Virgo risings, like sometimes like they will be too critical on other people, and that can have like create relationship problems, right? They just need to know that like it doesn't exist like the perfect human, and they can get in relationships where the person seems perfect at the start, and then one bad thing happens, they're like, nope, nope, nope. But yeah, Vesta in Gemini is very good for networking. Very good for like it's very good for for it literally makes one a committed writer, and like you can look that up. Like it's very like just good for that. Very intellectual. So loving to just kind of exchange information, communicate, all that. So and then like just Mercury and Cancer in general, it's just like it makes you really communicate from your heart, you know. So you can communicate like emotional issues and yeah, like because it's retrograde, the the mission is how can how like with all the third house, right? It's like how can the throat chakra be open, the that portal of truth. So mega important. Let's pull some of these up. All right. So you have the nebula rising. So that is like, I'm not surprised that you got a reading with me and you have the nebula rising. The nebula is one of the stars of astrology, the esoteric, whatever you want to call it, right? And I'll show you what I'm looking at. So, like my eyes be hurting when I look at all these. But yeah, you have the nebula there. So yeah, that is very, very key because the nebula it's an ancient astrology. It's one of the stars that, was looked at as someone who could be doing, work like the work I do, for example. So, a truth seeker, right? It's someone who wants to, once again, and this has been a theme of your chart, truly get to the bottom of everything. Truly, truly, truly get to the bottom of everything. And yeah, it can definitely give talents in doing so. And it just connects so perfectly with all of that third house Scorpio energy. So that's very interesting. Um, let's see. So there is potential for fame because Jupiter is conjunct Fama. Fama is about fame. Not like such a close conjunction, but you know, Jupiter makes everything bigger. So, and it's in the third house, so it could be for your writing. And wow, wait, hold up. Wow, so you have Urania conjunct Venus. So this is super fucking interesting. Urania is the asteroid of astrology, and it's in your Venus in the 12th house. So astrology, astronomy, it's the stars. So that's really, really interesting that you have it there. It could just speak to like a passion for it, but yeah, that's fascinating. Um, with Venus, maybe you just have like a karmic path with it where you just get it easier in the 12th. Um, or it just has like a nice benefit to your love life as well and to your sense of self. Um, okay, nice. So you have Aphrodite conjunct your sun. Aphrodite gives beauty. It gives like that princess kind of beauty. So on your sun, very nice. Um, yeah, it yeah, Aphrodite, like there's like lust, there's all these asteroids, Cupido, like um Aphrodite is the one that's about like beauty. Like I always say, like into like when it comes to like attractiveness, like obviously everyone has different things that they consider attractive, but I think with like I don't know, I don't want to sound like a misogynist, right? That wouldn't be misogynist, would it? I don't want to sound like this is like I talk about women um like this because I don't. But like basically like I'll say like, there's different, it's just how it is, right? Like there's girls who are very beautiful, right? That would be very Aphrodite. But then there's girls who what there's girls who are very sexy. There's girls who are very cute. You know what I mean? Like there's different levels or different level, just different types of like I guess what you would consider attractiveness, right? So Aphrodite is that very kind of regal um princess type. So have it on your sun, it gives lots of charm and lots of I don't even know, it's like charm, like what you can say for women. I don't even know. They're showing the scoreboard. Where's Moldova? It's like kind of like Romania, but not war, but should be a part of Romania. It's bullshit, but they're 20th. That sucks. Yeah. Romania and always gets screwed over in these competitions. Just ridiculous. They should like way more talented artistically than these other countries, or nearly all of them. But whatever. Racism. Racist. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so definitely also Cupid on the Pluto would definitely give like I would say like a more kind of seductive energy. Um, mhm. Okay, so in there. Hmm. So yeah, asteroid Karma is following like with these part of fortune and that kind of seventh house area. So it just speaks more to like how much of a role karma is playing in your natal chart and in your life, in your love life, excuse me. So Wow. So interesting. So Circe, which is literally like one of the witch, one of the witch, one of the witch asteroids is conjunct your Mars and South Node, meaning past life witch vibes. Um, and it can make you have a very easy time with working with potions and herbs and all that witchy stuff. And that being part of your karmic past, which maybe you were a witch that was persecuted because of that square of Pluto or the opposition of Pluto. That would make total sense to me. And that you're trying to deal with trusting again, allowing yourself to kind of be that spiritual person because it led to so much pain before. So then the midheaven, most important with the ascendant, most important. Well, I see lots of wealth stars. I'm not even just saying that. Miguel is close by. Bellatrix is close by. So, um, yeah, Rigel is all about just like good fortune with your career and when you're headed in that right direction, just good things happening. Lots of it's a really very good for money and being kind of renowned in what you do and inventive in what you do. So to have it on the midheaven, it is very good for prosperity in business. But a lot of times there's lots of gain acquired through lots of hard work and even mental anxiety. And sometimes there can be like this quick rise early in life, right? Because of the strong willpower. Um, so it's like as long as you stay concentrated, right? And stay kind of like keep focused, it's good. But if you do have like an attack of weakness, if you allow any self-limiting beliefs to get to you, then that can be really difficult. And that can create a fall from grace. Um, so yeah. And then with Bellatrix, Bellatrix, oh good old Bellatrix. So I'm just looking for a second. Oh my God, Ukraine just got so many points. It's like they have like the song on Eurovision. It's just like the song. They're all pretty, a lot of them pretty cheesy, but I don't know. Ukraine just moved up from like one of the last places. It's like they have like the judges vote, and then they have like the votes by like people who text you. And it's just interesting. Last year, I think Ukraine won. Now Sweden's winning, but now they're doing all the votes for Moldova just moved up, so I'm hoping Moldova wins, but they're not going to. So Bellatrix on the midheaven, you know, it's just very good for advancement, in career, right? But also you have to watch out for jealousy. But having it could also be good for fame potentially. And you just have to watch out for You have to watch out for people becoming jealous of you when it comes to career. That's kind of where it's at. So, anyways, yeah, like shadow work, throat chakra. You can really just like journal and do different things like that that will help you tremendously um in that area of life. So yeah. Anyways, that is it. I hope you enjoyed. I kept it under 2 hours, a miracle. So let me know if you get in the position or want to do the follow-up current astrology stuff. There's no time limit on it. I hope you enjoyed. Kisses from Romania. Ciao.